Hey, welcome to the Reach and Eden podcast. This is a podcast involving the development members of the Gears of Eden video game and the processes we go through as we make it. You can find us on iTunes, GooglePlay, SoundCloud, and our website, gearsofeden.com. So today we have Sledge, our creative director. How you doing, Sledge?
I'm doing well. Hello.
And then we also have Eric, who is the lead writer for the game.
Hello.
And our special guest today, Nick, who is also a writer. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
And rounding it out is me, Michael, the host, and I help manage the project. So to go over what we'll be discussing today, we have some of our Gears of Eden news, and then each of the members will be discussing our piece of inspiration that we have for this week. And we'll finish it off by discussing the games that we have played. So I think one of the big things with Gears of Eden we have our short stories that we discussed earlier. Eric, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh, yeah. So we want to put together a collection of short stories as a means of giving vested members of the community a sight into the world. They'll see characters that they'll run across through their own gameplay, and they'll see conflicts that they're brewing just underneath. And just last night, I think it was, last night we nailed down what we wanted the topics of the first two short stories to be.
Oh, awesome!
I don't want to delve too much into that yet because I don't want to spoil anything, but it was very fun to come up with.
It was fun, but for me personally, and I don't know if you feel this way, Eric, but getting to a point in a project where when you start out, it's this really big thing with a lot of potential, and then there's all these different ideas, but then you get to a stage where you actually have to start writing, and you have to funnel those ideas down into something specific and direct, and it's really exciting, but there's also a scary component to it, at least for me.
I've been writing since I was a little kid. And even at this point, with all the practice and love of turning those big ideas into word by word sequences, it's still a little bit intimidating to figure that out.
Yeah, that's very cool. So do we have an idea for the production schedule for the short stories and stuff?
Oh yeah, I've never actually made a production schedule before because I'm an English major. It's just writing. But now that the writing is going somewhere, Sledge and I sat down and came up with a rough first draft of what the production schedule will be for the next coming month.
All right, so that actually brings up an interesting discussion is the lore that we've had to do for the story. We kind of developed the basic premise of what we wanted to do with the game, and we kind of set some things in stone a while ago. So Nick, what were some of the things that you had to do to kind of help shape some of the lore that we developed for the story?
I guess a lot of what I've done is just kind of look over other AI lore and stuff like that, and sci-fi, just kind of in general. I guess one of the books specifically that I've kind of found inspiration in was Diaspora by Greg Egan, which kind of goes on just a lot about how AI functions and how it grows.
Yeah, so just a lot of stories on kind of civilizations and how they deal with their AI.
Right. We'll get those in eventually, maybe.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of that right now.
Surprise.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, so very cool. So as we're working on that, do we have any ideas of how we're going to be introducing that? I know we've discussed our ways of crowdfunding and such forth, and even Patreon we discussed a little bit, right, Sledge?
Yeah, so we're definitely going to give away some of these stories for everyone, but we're trying to grow sort of that inner audience that Eric was talking about earlier, and having some content that's exclusive for them or giving them first access to it or something like that. So we're still figuring out what that structure is going to be and what we're going to do, and we're looking at things like Patreon to see if that might work for us. So definitely stay tuned, and we'll have more information on that side of things soon. Yeah,
well, because it's always important to make sure that for when you're trying to make a video game, it's important that they're able to grow an audience and have people that are actually going to pay attention to when the game is released, people who are going to buy the game, people that are going to support you and all the effort that you put into it. Because that's definitely one of the things that you don't think about when you make the game. People think you can make the game, put it out there, and it'll be successful based on whether it's good or not. But a lot of the times, it can just be eaten up by the huge internet monster and just not even be noticed.
Yeah, and it's so much more important when you're a young indie dev team and you don't have the financial backing of a big studio or anything. So getting that crowd support and that fan base is critical.
Well, just even and also not having having that precedent, of previous games for people to judge us on as well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun. There's also some of the testing that we've done, and we've tested the dialogue editor, haven't we?
Yesterday, actually, and a little bit today is the first time that we've had our programmers make commits with the dialogue editor in place. So I actually got to go in and do a little bit of messing around, put some dialogue into the game. And yeah, it's still, it's not complete yet, but it's already fairly robust. And there's just a few tweaks left to make to it. And pretty soon we're just going to be like dumping a bunch of the dialogue that we have ready, like actually into the game now through this editor.
Oh, so it's not going to be the same 2 lines like in rapid succession.
Oh god.
I only wrote 2 lines, so hopefully those are
yeah, that's actually going to be super fun because I haven't seen what you guys have written, so it's going to be a huge treat for me when I get to see some of the things. Okay, well, so actually, speaking of the alpha testing and all that stuff, Nick, I think you did a lot of the testing on the alpha. Out of the 4 of us, I think compared to to a very small group of people. But so can you tell us a little bit about how you approach the testing?
Yeah, most of it was me kind of just leaving it open while I was away from my computer, but that's half of what my hours
I'm
were,
so
I
mad
think.
that you and Nick both did that.
Yeah, I totally got a lot of exploits off of that, but at the same time, I basically cheated the whole time. I had like infinite resources or whatever, and just was kind of trying to test like the function of upgrades and stuff like that, just to make sure it was functioning correctly. Because I know one of the builds, it wasn't working for me, and then it was working, and then it's been kind of nice just to see that progress. And since we're brand new to this, I don't think any of us really know the best way to test something. So there's not really a rigid structure to it. It's just kind of get in there and see what breaks, try to break it.
I think it's actually good that you were testing in that way, because I was testing like totally like the experience as it was intended, which is great to make like for pacing, but that doesn't give me the chance for me to break the system like you have the chance to do.
Right.
Yeah, and I got to give Ek a shout out because he has like, I don't know if it's actual playing time or just like what you guys say, just the idle time, but he has like so much more. He has so much more testing time than any of the rest of us. But yeah, testing is an interesting process because it's really about getting in and testing some of those edge cases and trying to figure out what players might be doing wrong, and so sort of intentionally trying to break the game versus not just going in and just trying to play it for the experience. So
well, and I also think one of the most important things is just making sure that stuff works. So I definitely did the same thing that Nick did, which was kind of going through the different like the different upgrades and making sure that you're able to implement them and that there was a noticeable difference, because that's probably one of the biggest things is, so you may have something like the like just flipping and getting stuck on stuff, but then it's not so great when you're able to upgrade all the way to level 4 and then seeing that it makes absolutely no difference and you kind of get those feel bads.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
So real quick before we move on, we just want to say thanks for checking us out with a special offer for our podcast fans. You can get in an early alpha test wave and be one of the first players to experience Gears of Eden. All you have to do is leave a comment on one of our podcast articles on the website, which is www.gearsofeden.com. Just make sure you're signed up on the newsletter to be eligible and to stay up to date with all things Gears of Eden. And now back to the podcast. So now we're going to be kind of taking a step back, talking a little bit more about the inspiration stuff that I mentioned earlier. So I've asked the guys here to give us an example from their own lives. These examples can be either from entertainment, news, the internet, really anything that does simply one thing, inspire. So, and this is to give you guys an idea of how we kind of fuel our creativity. So, Sledge, what's been your inspiration for this week?
All right, my first bit of inspiration this week is a podcast from the TED Radio Hour, which was on something called rejection therapy. And this is actually part of a TED Talk that was given by Jia Jiang. And he has this really interesting story where he basically grew up having a lot of fear of people and like talking in public, and really, also because of that, like following through with some of the dreams he had in his life. And he started realizing that he was so afraid of rejection that it was holding him back in a lot of different areas in his life, and he decided to do something about it. And he did some searching on the internet, as we all do when we have a problem or challenge in our lives, and he found this site called rejectiontherapy.com. And at the time, it was basically like this card game that challenged you to go out for 100 days and intentionally get rejected, which I just thought was like this like brilliant concept.
Okay, so I actually have seen this one actually.
Okay.
It was very familiar, but yeah, so I definitely like the approach that I love the mindset that it put him into, which was not to be afraid of certain things, and then what was cool was that the more he kept doing it, the more he found that as his confidence actually went higher and higher, the more he was actually not being rejected. Like people were saying okay to what he was asking.
Yeah, I think they said like of the 100 days, he actually got 51 people that said yes. So
Yeah.
and just like the concept of intentionally subjecting yourself to your fears, so you basically you
Oh.
build this immunity to it. Like I just thought that was a brilliant concept, and like anytime that you're involved in a creative project, there's so much that you can be afraid of, or that just like whether it's internal in yourself, or it's trying to build an audience, or it's reaching out and making contacts. Like there's a lot of things where you just have to like be bold and not be afraid and go through those steps. And so like I found that really inspiring. And I heard the podcast, but he has a longer TED talk that I'll listen to next, and some other stuff. So we'll throw some links in the link dump for anyone who's interested in it.
Yeah, just like yesterday when we were talking about the short stories, there was this thing I was trying to pitch to Sledge, and thank God he's so patient and like it worked out. But my own just like fear of rejection and just sheer nervousness at pitching something like in a less patient environment would have just sank my entire goal.
I used rejection kind of this last spring. I actually ran for city council in my city, so I did go talk to people about my positions on fun city issues at their homes while they were annoyed with me. So it's
Immediately
interesting
they're
to
annoyed
do.
with you.
Yeah, they're like, "Why are you at my house?"
I know. I think it's good to like get out of your comfort zone and stretch yourself a little bit. And like he talked about his first time doing it. He was so nervous approaching this person, but he videotaped it, and he basically asked this guy for $100, and the guy said no, and then he ran away. But he watched the tape later
God, I
and
feel
saw that
that.
like the guy wasn't being mean to him or anything. He actually asked him why he wanted the money, and so like he started to be able to look at the evidence and say I'm overreacting, and next time I'm not going to run away. I'm just going to make myself stay and continue the conversation. And like over time he built that up slowly, like that immunity built up. So definitely
Yeah.
something for all of us, I think, to carry forward.
No, I think it's a huge lesson to always, saying is, always go for no or like the next opportunity. So
Yeah,
I definitely love that.
Is this our fundraising technique idea? We're just gonna go after people and just be like, "I need $100
Dude.
for a video game,"
And then they ask why. You tell them about the game. They tell their friends.
right?
Yeah,
It's a good plan.
A live
Yeah.
stream it all.
it's a great plan.
All right, everyone has homework this week.
Yeah, so that's super inspiring. Just kind of remembering all that stuff. So what's your other inspiration for the week, Sledge?
All right, my other bit of inspiration comes from Facebook. So they have it's one of their research arms is working on AI and basically working on chat bots that might be able to interface with humans. And right now they have these bots talking to each other. And so I was reading this article where they had these two bots that were basically using machine learning. So they don't program these bots with any particular like tactic or things to say. They just use machine learning to let the machines teach themselves and learn. And in this particular instance, they're supposed to be negotiating. And there was some really interesting results of that where like the machines would actually fake interest in something, and then they could pretend like they were compromising on it later as part of the negotiation.
I'm not liking
That's
liking
terrifying.
how you're putting
Yeah.
this.
They're more clever than I am.
Yeah, exactly. And so obviously like this, definitely ties into a lot with what we're doing in Gears of Eden, and we have a lot to say about AI and stuff. But there was also this unexpected result that they didn't see, where these machines basically invented their own language that was not a human language, and they were using that in the negotiation. And so the programmers had to stop and
Yeah,
Burn them. break the things.
We gotta pull the plug on this. We can't let.
Yeah. We were very close. We came very close to being eliminated by Facebook a couple weeks ago. I'll negotiate that down. Let's just nuke the humans.
In their secret language, so we can't even be prepared for it.
Yeah. Thank God for the heroes at Facebook for saving humanity.
After almost ruining it, though, don't give them too much credit.
Hey, come on.
That is true.
So yeah, I just thought that was like a really neat story, and we're all thinking a lot about AI right now, and I think like AI in our time is evolving so much and so quickly. Like it's hard to really know where it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years. And of course, our story is way far ahead out in front of that. So, like, really interested in what we're going to be telling in our story with AI and like that whole lore. Yep.
Yeah, we don't want to find out that in our storyline that the Facebook robots actually succeeded and they were unable to pull the plug. So,
could all be part of the negotiation.
There was that one thing we talked about for a while. There it is.
Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. That is absolutely terrifying. So
terrifying, but in an inspiring way.
Very, very much so. Like a lot of ideas popping up.
Build a bunker.
Yeah, exactly. So Eric, what's been your inspiration for this week?
So we talked about this last week. I have this app on my phone called Streaks, where I have some goals that I try to reach every day, and I keep my trip going. But I had this one goal that was to read 50 pages a day, which is a totally fine goal. But with the amount that I read, I wasn't challenging myself or really growing from it. I was just doing what I was always doing. So I changed it into one that's just like focused on consuming creativity. And ever since I did that, like it's felt like just working has been easier. Because I haven't had just the same sort of creativity coming into me. I've had it from all sorts of sources where it's like animation, television, music, games, books too. And it's allowing me to have this very organic vision of what I want to make. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Eric, I gotta say thanks for bringing up Streak app last week, because I jumped on it, and so I've started my own streaks now. And so if nothing else, like you've inspired, I think we'll inspire each other in that way and get some new ideas from each other. But hopefully I'll keep my streaks going. So thanks for sharing.
And that's another reason to kind of be bringing up these inspirations, because it's always important for when you're doing a project of any kind that you surround yourself with similar people that can keep pushing yourself. So yeah, that's awesome that you're using streaks. How many streaks do you have going on right now?
I mean, I have 6 going,
Okay.
but I've just literally started in the last couple of days. So all my streaks are like 2 right now, 2 or 3.
Oh, that's good. I was hoping you weren't going to say like 0, like you were just failing for 3 days in a row. Because I know I've done that with one of my things, which was the kind of eating right and just making sure. Because honestly, I'm very tough on myself. So even if I had like a piece of carb like that I wasn't necessarily supposed to have, like, nope, I can't write that down. I didn't eat right today. So yeah, that's awesome. And I think the whole discussion about the like reframing your goals and just kind of changing it to do something that challenges yourself is actually a very smart idea, because people can kind of get into like these bad habits or routines that actually do nothing for you. So being able to change things up and add a little more challenge can get your brain like rolling very well. All right, so Nick.
Yeah.
First time here. I hope it wasn't too hard to find your inspirations.
Super difficult.
What was the stuff you had for this week?
I also had a piece related to AI, artificial intelligence and jobs, and how that's looking to function coming up here. It's an interesting concept to me because I have an economics degree background, so looking at that is something that's developing pretty rapidly, and it's a lot different than other forms of automation. But it's kind of a cool concept, and I think people should maybe look at it a little bit more in depth.
Yeah.
Yes. So real quick, and this is all stuff that kind of like hypothetical and like the future stuff that they're looking to develop AI for, right?
Yeah, I mean, most of it, obviously, it's not in existence yet, but with what is it called? They have like a an algorithm for like the exponential growth of this artificial intelligence, and basically they're expecting like a singularity event by 2040 as a median year, which means singularity event is when AI will surpass human intelligence.
It doesn't have very far to travel, so
No, not at
Yeah.
all.
I think we're good on that.
Right. It's coming up.
Speaking of which, what's your other inspiration for this week?
My other one's kind of related.
Is
It's another podcast,
it
not
better than
ours.
ours?
Don't ask that.
Don't ask that. You can't ask that.
You know, it's a little more developed. It's been going on longer.
What's the name of the podcast?
It's You Are Not So Smart, which is great.
How very apt to your previous comment.
Yeah.
To my previous comment.
It does a pretty good job of just kind of, in general, the podcast does a good job of talking about things of our misconceptions of how our brains work. And this specific one I'm linking here is one that talks about our perception of reality and how that is different person to person, and how this cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman actually developed a way to measure reality based on our own personal experiences versus like atoms and moving parts out in physics. So it was pretty interesting to listen to. But
All right, real quick. Did it take into effect the Mandela effect?
It might have. What's the Mandela effect again?
The Mandela effect is the basic the basic idea is people have kind of like these shared false memories. So they would be thinking of like a certain catchphrase or something for like McDonald's or like just any kind of big chain.
Oh, sure.
And they would be, and if you like, and so they like a huge majority of people would remember as something, but if you were to actually look back in actual records, it would be something completely different.
Oh, sure.
And so it was just these people having these like different shared false memories for different things, and that's always been interesting to me.
This one specifically didn't, but some of the other ones have talked about that kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This one reminded me, and I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing, but just reading through the summary, it reminded me also of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Plato's allegory of the cave, but
Oh, yeah.
like it's interesting. So like how this idea of how we perceive reality is maybe not actually like objectively real. It's been around like for a really long time, and it's just evolved. And like as complex as we are now, and as much as we think we understand things better now, like people way back in history like sort of had these same ideas, and I thought that comparison was really interesting.
Yeah, he kind of relates it back to Westworld, if you've seen that, which is another AI related topic, and how they kind of gained their sense of self. It's a really good podcast overall, though. Definitely can recommend it.
I'm definitely gonna have to look into it because like I said, I find the Mandela effect very interesting, and so I find anything like concerning like our reality and our perception of it just like a fascinating subject. And
Right.
speaking of which, I'm calling BS. I know Pikachu's like the tip of its tail is black. Apparently, it isn't, Cooper.
No, it isn't.
What
That's BS.
Yeah, it's
are
not.
we talking about?
And okay, and here's one for you, Slides. That you probably. So, does the Monopoly guy from Monopoly have a monocle?
I want to say yes, so it's probably no.
No, he doesn't, which is so weird. Apparently, Darth Vader doesn't say, "Luke, I am your father."
Yeah, he doesn't.
He says, "No, I am your father."
Right.
Like, and how's Oscar Mayer spelled?
OSCARMEYER.
First name.
No,
Yeah.
it is spelled Mayor, like mayor of a city.
That's terrible.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it is weird seeing all these stuff. So it's
Wait, no, it's OAS. Yeah, MAYER, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not like mayor of a city.
No, you're mayor of the city is
sorry.
MAYOR.
Yeah. Sorry.
You said that, I was like, no, that has to be wrong. There's no.
I take back my comment.
No, sorry. I just paid attention to the first letter, and that's what it was. Mayor, not mayor. So that's very interesting. Anything that has to deal with kind of like our nature, reality, and the perception of it's very cool.
Yeah.
So the kind of, and taking that kind of mental mental outlook on things actually brings me to my inspiration, which is a person named Inky Johnson. If you guys haven't heard, he is like an ex football player who's almost pretty much destined to for the NFL until a bad accident happened during one of his games and basically completely tore all his nerves on his right side, where he just wasn't able to play afterwards. But there's actually this great video called Impose Your Will, and actually I'll be linking that in the link dump, and I definitely suggest everyone take a look. It was more about the process of getting stuff done, how he wanted to get it done, and having that mental fortitude to basically succeed at whatever he does. And so now he's pretty much a inspirational speaker for any kind of company that wants to take him for any football teams and all that stuff. So I think he's a great example of, someone taking a bad situation and making the most out of it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like something I'd never want to do.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Although, at the same time, kind of going to places and sharing your experience and getting paid for it sounds pretty sweet. Like, that sounds like...
Yeah, it's cool.
I definitely enjoy looking at that vid every couple of months just to kind of like re-energize myself. And actually that kind of reminds me of me going to like a trampoline. I don't know what would you call it?
Emporium.
Park? It's not a park. Emporium?
Yeah.
No, it is. It's an extreme. It is a cutting edge entertainment, fitness, and sports facility, unlike any you have experienced.
Oh, like a trampoline emporium.
Yeah, like that. So it was very fun just going through and jumping and having the ability goes higher than you could do it by yourself. But what was really impressive was watching the kids basically bounce around and have so much energy they didn't know what to do with it. And it's made me to kind of realize that being a kid is actually a pretty great thing, and taking on that mentality of basically exploring and discovering new things and just having no limit to yourself is
and I think like finding that energy and that enthusiasm is important, and sort of like kids have that naturally, and we sometimes get worn down by the world, and but that's a good reminder, like just to try to keep that positive mindset and be enthusiastic and keep your energy up and go for the goals that you have, which is jumping.
or anything else that kids wanted to try. So yeah, those are a couple examples of the things that we use for inspiration on a day-to-day basis. It's not always necessarily motivation, but it helps give us our creative juices flowing and gets our minds on the right track. So before we wrap it up, we're going to talk a little bit about the games we've been playing, and this is to kind of give you guys a little insight in what we like and what we use to relax. So, Nick, what have you been playing this week?
Well, it wasn't this week, but it was the most recent games I've been playing, actually, which is kind of sad. But Legends of Zelda Breath of the Wild, I believe you'd been playing that last week, right, Michael?
Yep.
And I have beaten it, and it's fantastic. And
is it?
Ooh, nice.
It's great. It's amazing. The end boss is really good. It's well paced. Most of the dungeons are fun. There's parts that are a little bit boring, but you're gonna have that with such a huge game,
Well, and I'll say the little bits that I've gone through, I'm actually really surprised how they're able to kind of keep it interesting and keep you kind of busy. And I don't mean busy like in a bad way of just kind of like mindlessly like mining a gem or something, but just
Sure.
As you're traveling, you're able to find things along the way that can get your attention. And actually I had to reset myself because I had my brother over for the weekend and he wanted to play it. So, and it doesn't have like these separate save files like the original, like Ocarina of Time. I knew you could have like different save files. Apparently you can't have that in Breath of the Wild.
Actually, can you set up a different like account on the
Yes.
on the Switch or the Wii U so you can have like...
I did not know that. And
Oh, yeah, you can do that.
I did not know that, so I'm basically back to where I was a week ago, having playing the game even twice. So
That's all right.
That's amazing. Thanks.
Yeah.
Glad we can help.
Should have consulted the team beforehand.
That's right.
Or the Googles, I don't know. But other than that, I've gotten because I got a Switch because of Breath of the Wild, and I'm a sucker. So
You lucky. Oh man, I'm jealous.
no, so like I don't know what happened, but for when I got the Switch because I don't know why, but I randomly woke up at like 3 a.m. on the day they announced it at Tokyo Game Show. So like that's when the pre-orders were open. And I was like, oh, well, I got to do this if I'm going to do it. So I pre-ordered immediately. So that's why I got one. So I was pretty happy with that. But I've also been playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe a little bit, which Mario Kart's just always dumb fun. It's Mario Kart. If you haven't played Mario Kart, you should probably not be listening to a video game podcast. But go play Mario Kart first.
We any opinions by our guests are not the opinions of the podcast. Please listen to us, even if you haven't played Mario Kart.
Well, do it.
We're okay
do
with
both.
you. We're okay with you.
Do both.
Listen to the podcast while you play Mario Kart.
There you go.
Right. This ad sponsored by Nintendo.
Oh, we got the Nintendo money?
Yeah. We're now announcing Gears of Eden for Nintendo Switch. Virtual console.
Virtual console.
You think they're putting this on shelves?
Well played. Well played. Yeah, man. Those are some really fun games.
Definitely.
Eric, what have you been playing this week?
So I've learned something myself recently.
I like this.
I think I've had this thought before that like if I existed in a different time, like way back in the past, I would probably be a thief. Not like a good one, but whenever I play a game, like if I get to steal things, I am immediately hooked into the game. And right now I'm playing Persona 5, in which you are the Phantom Thieves stealing like the evil desires of people's hearts. Because it's anime and it has to have something like that in it. And then Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, which apparently there's a plot in it. I don't know what the plot though, because all I'm doing is breaking into homes and stealing their things and seeing what they have in their lives. And I know this isn't healthy, but I'm getting it out in a video game. I don't do this in real life for the record, but I am absolutely just breaking into whatever I can. Right now, I'm in the middle of a bank, like just getting as far as I can just to see if I can. Like apparently it's for some quest later on or some mission later on.
Yep.
I don't even care about the mission. I just want to break into the place. It's there and it's a bank. So I have things I need to work out basically.
Well, I'm gonna say, thank God you have these video game outlets.
It's so helpful.
I did the exact same thing with that bank area.
It looks so cool and it's like so stealable.
Well, color me worried. Next week, Eric will be podcasting from prison, so we hope the connection's good. Sledge, what have you been playing this week?
All right. Well, I think there's a new, I think it's Middle Earth Shadow of War game that debuted at E3, and then you guys were sort of filling me in on it because
it looks amazing.
Yeah, and so I realized I hadn't played the first one, and I think maybe all of you have played it and said it was a great game. So I decided to check that out, and so I've been playing that a little bit, and I got to say, like, it's one of the most confusing starts to a game I've experienced.
Oh yeah,
sort of like just the way that like you're thrust into the story and like just the setting. Like I don't really understand who I am or what's going on. So from that standpoint, like the beginning actually was frustrating for me, but the fact that you guys all like it and everyone really seems to like it, it's got really great scores. Like, you know, I like it. It reinforces to me that the gameplay and like as the story progresses, hopefully like it gets really, really good. But it has made me think about what we're doing with Gears of Eden and just like make sure that when we start the player out, we like try not to start them out in confusion. And so I think that's just very important. You know, it's your first impression of the game. So
yeah, well, I'll say you have a great point there, and I think the issue with that though is they don't see that as the actual beginning of the game and the lore and all that stuff. They really consider the entire like Silmarillion and the entire Lord of the Rings like lore to be for everyone just to know that stuff and accept what's happening at that point. It's like, oh yeah, you're one of the Rangers. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm not like a hardcore Lord of the Rings person. I'm like most familiar with the movies more than anything else. So I kind of knew going into it that maybe I was a little bit handicapped, but still, I think just in general, like make sure that, especially a game like we're doing, like we want to have a pretty wide audience, and so we need to make sure that we really help them get into the game.
Yeah, if we do intend to do that, we'll be sure to write 3 books for people. So don't worry.
Yeah,
3 books. You think that's it? There are the first 3 books, like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and Silmarillion. But then there's like this 10-book anthology of histories of Middle Earth.
He has all these short stories that go through it. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But yeah, like I'm one of the people who was like telling you like you have to play this game. But yeah, I remember that beginning. I played it and I didn't want to keep playing after that beginning. Like I knew there was a nemesis system in there which I had to experience. But that beginning was so rough. You're just like, I don't want to keep doing this. It's not bad. It just feels very like by the numbers.
That's a good point. Yeah. I did think it was really cool. Like the first time I was killed and you see like the guy that kills you basically gets promoted and like becomes stronger. Like, yeah, that was, I don't think I've experienced that in a game before. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. The nemesis system is kind of, I think it's unique to that franchise, and it really like, it totally changes the way you think of challenges and enemies in games, because you have like a history with them.
Yeah.
I had this one guy who I would always hunt down, but he was like, he was this like poisonous crossbow dude who I just couldn't get too close enough. And then he kept killing me. And so he just kept leveling up. They got harder and harder. And finally, like I trapped him like with some barrels of explosives and just blew him up. But
that's awesome.
It's very fun to like once you get going in that game.
I will keep going. It is getting more fun. So I've beat like my first little boss guy, and yeah, looking forward to more. And then the other game I'm playing this week I've gone back to Kerbal, which is a long-standing favorite of mine, and they're working on an expansion now, and they keep making little updates and changes to the game, which is great to see it continuing to get progress and continue to have a team working on it. And it's always a game that I go back to. It's just a great like sandbox game, and I continue my little Kerbal expansion of the solar system. So
yeah, I've got a question for you about the way you play the game. Are you very technical and methodical in how you approach the science and making sure you get every last value, or are you more of kind of like the mass murderer, just setting Kerbals to the death kind of guy?
I'm definitely the latter type. So yeah, like I get so many, like I'll be trying to plan a trip to like the equivalent of Mars, which they call Duna. And, so I'll get a rocket going, and then I'll figure out I didn't have enough fuel to like get the trajectory all the way there. So then that guy's like just lost and stuck in space orbiting the sun. But he served a purpose, because now I go back and realize I need more fuel. And the next guy's going to make it closer to Mars. And then sometimes I do go and try to rescue those guys, and rescue missions are a lot of fun in that game. So
and then you strand even more of them out there.
Well, that's when you just call it a space station.
So I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember. Have you talked about Kerbal on the podcast already?
No, I have not.
Because I believe, if I remember right, that was kind of like the inspiration for Gears of Eden to an extent, right? Like
Well, there's definitely like a set of games that are inspiration, and like Kerbal is one of them that's high up for me personally, like just because of I do like the whole like feeling of exploration, and I do like some of the technical aspects of it. And we definitely have a different tone and a different approach with what we're doing with Gears, but I think that there's part of that like sense of exploration that we definitely want to capture. And like obviously some of the physics are going to be very similar, and just
I think Nick has a good point. It was definitely one of the like the very first draft of Gears of Eden was definitely something similar to Kerbal. I do remember those discussions.
For sure.
Yeah, initially you're just like a miner, and you go out and you collect stuff and you bring it back. It was a very straightforward experience.
Yeah, I think like some of the initial ideas are like, what if there was a game that's like Kerbal or Minecraft, but there's like this narrative component to it, and you have like things that you're trying to do rather than just being completely, open sandbox.
Well, and speaking of the kind of the space and all that stuff, so my 2 games that I've been playing was Titanfall 2, which they kind of had this like trial period that you're able to play it for free and all that stuff. So I tried a little bit of that. I found I loved the gameplay, and it was nice and quick, and just very enjoyable. And it was for a good sale, so I bought it for like $20 or something. Definitely one of the best $20 I've spent on a game in a good while. Just kind of going through the campaign, which was,
I hear that campaign is fantastic.
I think it kind of goes to show that people kind of hold this memory of anything like in the past, because I do remember when Titanfall 1 originally came out, people were a little down on the lack of the story and just kind of like lack of gameplay in general. And I definitely feel Titanfall 2 is in many ways superior to Titanfall 1, but people kind of kept that memory and didn't really give Titanfall 2 a chance.
Yeah.
Right. Which
is sad, because man, it is a phenomenal game to play, and yeah, like you said, the story was actually great in the fact that it was able to play with all these different mechanics and gameplay, and the story was very, very good. So yeah, if you haven't given it a shot, I say go get it for $20. It's a steal.
Well, and I believe it kind of also suffered from, it came out like the exact same week as Battlefield 1, if I remember right. And Battlefield 1 is Battlefield 1.
Yeah.
Battlefield's been popular forever. So Titanfall being slightly less popular kind of, both being multiplayer focused, kind of hurt it, I think. Despite the fact that all I've heard are good things.
Yeah, like the worst thing I've heard about it is that no one's playing it. So the multiplayer is a little rough to get into. But like that's not really a knock on the game. That's just sort of the community around it.
And those are the things that we try to keep in mind when we're trying to develop our game as well.
Yes.
And then the other game I was playing is just kind of my go-to, which is Overwatch. They recently released their new lunar map along with some other changes. But the reason I wanted to bring up in particular for this was purely for the lunar map, and there's actually a part where you're able to walk outside and kind of experience zero gravity as you jump in and soar through space.
I never went outside. Gotta get outside. I was the person most looking forward to going outside, and you guys went ahead without me.
After this, we're gonna set up a little like just us game room and just like go jump around and have fun out there.
Man, like there's a point where I had a good comp. I had like 2 healers and all that stuff, but the healers were like far away. Like actually, one of the healers, as soon as the match started, they immediately went outside to experience the zero gravity and let the rest of us die.
That's what I would have done if I had found the door.
Yeah. So
I think we should bring up like the little design decision with the telescope.
Oh yeah.
If people don't know, the telescope is just it's this dumb little thing that almost no one paid attention to, but literally every time someone discovers it is met with such a positive reaction. It is more brilliant than silly. And it's basically just you go, if you're defending, you're able to go to the telescope and you actually can hit a button and you can see a map of the world with like cities outlined and all that stuff. And I know it's the most simplest graphic that someone can possibly implement, but it was
entirely possible. It was just a picture they already had of that map. They just cropped it and plugged it in.
It was just, I was surprised how excited I was just to be able to push a button and see the Earth from the moon. So.
Oh God.
I think those like little touches that really like make things sometimes for players, and like you said, like all of us like got this great reaction out of it. It's something so simple for them to do, but the hard part is just like thinking of those ideas and including them, and like just giving players something fun and kind of stupid like that.
And I think it's all about trying to get into the mindset of giving players these quality of life things that don't really affect gameplay much, but adds that extra little kind of touch to the game.
So when you're on the map for the 100th time, there's something like fun to do that's unique on it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look through the telescope again.
My character said a little line about it.
Yeah, it's been great. All right, well, that wraps it up for this week, guys. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you and what you think of the podcast. You can contact us and find out more about Gears of Eden at www.gearsofeden.com or on Twitter or Facebook. And if you're interested in finding out more about anything we discussed today, you're going to be able to find links in the blog entry for the podcast on our website. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with a new edition of Reach and Eden. Until then, we're the Gears of Eden development team, and we're Reach and Eden. We hope you join us.